Nah.
This was everything I wanted and more. Folks, Fionna and Cake does not miss. Like, this show is serving on every level, and I am here for it. From the Return to Farmworld, where we snuck a peek at Farm Finn and what I'm assuming is Huntress Wizard's kids, to the madness-tinged musical banger that was The Winter King. I cannot get over just how fun this story has been, and just how fucked up it is when Fionna realized that she killed people. While not the Adventure Time we know and love, the vibe is right and the anguish is delish as we are hopping through the multiverse. So let's break down the journey of a man realizing that he may be making a mistake, and the girl who just committed murder. Also, of course, tangent about the boys, because naturally.
This is an escalation.
So we open the story in the dead of night and a harrowing scene of Farm Finn hunting down a pair of travelers just trying not to die. It's such a great start to the episode, as we are just so used to having the Ice King and the crown be treated as some goofy bump in the road. Something for Finn to just manage while cracking a couple jokes along the way. But in this world with no magic, to the average person, this thing is terrifying, and really sets up just the danger of the crown, what Simon is asking to wear again, and grounding the stakes for a world that is not the land of Ooh. Ice Finn here, and I love the world building for this too. Ice Finn here is not just, oh, he was the Ice King, everyone knows this. It's more of a mystery. People know of a figure called the Snowman, who was assumed to be dead. Ice Finn was built up to be the boogeyman of the post-apocalypse, wreaking havoc till the post-apocalypse became a little bit more apocalyptic. Of course, he was depowered, but the tone is grounded, it is wholly its own, and this whole scene is a fun stepping stone for Fionna, as Fionna builds up to the magical insanity that she thinks she wants. Now, at the start, Simon is still very much on board with becoming the Ice King again, with him framing it all as just all positives to an unknowing Fionna and Cake, who don't realize just what he's sacrificing to become the IK again. He's not telling them the whole story, and the narrative is going out of the way to make sure that the girls don't know, and we can preserve the tension of them looking for another crown in the multiverse. As from the worlds we've seen so far, we've yet to run into a fully insane Simon, so the girls don't know just the full cost of wearing the crown. In the farm world, the crown is already gone, and while it's the apocalypse, it's not directly tied to the crown. And Fionna's just having too much fun, like they're treating this as an RPG, and she hasn't fully connected to being this way because of this thing. This makes it so the girls don't have a frame of reference for really what's going on. To them, this is just a post-apocalypse isekai, where they can just have fun adventures and almost kill people. While there are hints of things that might be bad, they have no way of linking the current state of the world with the crown. Plus, the one crown Ice King that they do meet is Dilf City, having all the power while seeming none of the negatives, while the other layer of the IK was actually a piece of shit. Fionna at the time was too busy locking lips to catch a glimpse at the doozy that they're in for. I personally love the quiet steps that we're going to really try and angle Simon to a place where maybe he realizes that he doesn't need the crown, giving him small but gentle reality checks as he meets Field to have worn the crown and able to have a life in spite of it. From FW Finn, we see that the man is damaged. Shit happened, and he is dealing with it as best he can. But the man still was able to move on. He was still able to create a life for himself, to get married, to have his just pack of children, and he was able to become something after the fact. While Simon is still clinging to the past. Well, yes, he is more of a man out of time than this version of Finn was. It's still proof that even when you lose the love of your life, you can keep moving forward. It doesn't have to become a new obsession. This is something that Simon needs to learn, but he also needs to learn balance. As when we see the Winter King, he's just on the whole other spectrum. The Winter King does not remember Betty. To him, she is just the dead woman, which I do think is fascinating. As this version of Simon, he is less that the Ice King became Simon again, and it's more like the Ice King became sane, as we discover that he channeled all of his crazy into Princess Bubblegum, allowing him to be just a regular guy again. But I do like the idea that this just is not the full Simon. That this is more of the Ice King regaining his sanity, and not fully connecting with the past that he's lost. To him, Betty really is just the dead woman, and not the true love of his life that he spent so many centuries obsessing over. I think that there is a balance, though, between these two men. Between a man who cannot let her go, and a man who has completely forgotten her. But I also do fucking love this world. The Winter King is great, the musical number is a banger, and it's just so cool seeing the Candy Queen just go, she's a lot, and I love her for it. I also love how we see Simon just get bummed out when he meets the Winter King, as he just thinks, I am the worst, when really the other guy just cheated. This whole dimension is just a blast. The musical number and the shift in animation style was just so clean. Like, this might be like peak Adventure Time animation right now. It is so good. It is so beautiful. I'm going to rewatch that 100 times after I'm done with this. Though I will say, the only thing that really took me out of it was the assistants, as every time I looked at them, I kept thinking of Pearl from Steven Universe. While these episodes don't have a massive emotional gut punches, the spectacle and intrigue of seeing these worlds are just captivating enough on their own, and they just hold me throughout. As it truly was nice to see the farm world again. It's always just kind of been this afterthought in the series on a whole, so it is interesting to see it evolve after Finn was returned to normal. It is also a great starting area, as we watch Fiona's fervor for adventure finally being whetted as she stumbles from one world to the next. But I like how it never really lets her bask in any of the wild antics like it did with Finn. Every step of her journey adds just a little bit of realism and shittiness, showing her that this isn't just all fun and games, that this isn't going to be the world of her dreams nor Prismo's fanfiction. From her shirt getting blood and having to deal with the smell and flies, to her actually struggling in a fight, Fionna expects everything to just click only for the rug to get pulled out from underneath her, just ever so slightly till the show fully sweeps the leg once we get the Winter King's reveal, and she discovers that her actions have consequences. Fiona's luster for adventure has just a little bit been dampened, as she is now not so sure what she wants after this whole thing. Fionna and Simon are being forced to confront what they want versus what they need, and I am all about it. But complicating their whole just emotional growth and narrative arc is the fact that Fionna and Cake are dangers to the multiverse. As we saw with Cake and the hot dog earlier, but we also saw it in the first farm episode. As you see, Fionna gets a nice knife, perfect for stabbing motherfuckers. But then she tries to pull it out later and it's just a regular kitchen knife. While it's subtle, the show is reminding us that things are not what they seem, and the scare might have a point when he calls them a threat to the multiverse. Though again, all these worlds just have their own irresistible flavor to them. I am loving all these episodes. Farmworld is a fun thought experiment about what this place could have been after Farmworld Finn was cured. The man developed into kind of Kratos, where he's rugged, distant, loves his kids but is haunted by his past. He doesn't have the same crippling emotional issues, but you can tell that what he did is still with him. And that just makes him fascinating, just this quick glimpse into what we see. I want more. And his kids are just adorable. Bonnie is so cute. His son Jay has a great little romance with Little Destiny being a fun story that is absolutely not stalling to justify them getting caught. But my eyes just can't help but be drawn to the green-eyed redhead in the room. Now, we don't know for sure that these are farm huntress wizards, but given the fact that Hunter also has red hair and green eyes, I'm just going to believe it because I want to, and reality is for quitters. Now let's talk about the boys. Speaking of which, Gary and Marshall Lee. Look, you knew I could not talk about them. Gary and Marshall Lee, like, I love this little subplot. It's mostly just sugar-coated fluff, but I got a sweet tooth, and I'm hungry. First hinted at in the opening episode where Marshall didn't know where the cookies came from, this episode starts with them meeting for the first time in Fiona's room, with absolute hilarity.
She's been robbed!
Nah. This is just the way she lives.
Marshall seemingly not having a place to stay right now, or is just avoiding his mom for reasons, seems to have crashed at Fiona's for a quick shower and offloading the dead weight. From there, the two meet. Gary is worried, Marshall is shirtless, already a great start. The two decide to hang out and prepare to make some more cookies for Gary's dream bakery, with the two hitting it off as we watch a cute montage of the two hanging out. From buying sweets from Lad Ranicorns, where Gary continues to unintentionally play into Marshall's, weaknesses. Then Marshall, based on nothing but this dork's passion and baking skills, trying to kickstart Gary's plan to have his own bakery by inviting the Lemon Grab investors for a taste test, only for the Karens to be haters. Not caring for the candy lore Gary had created. As each sweet has a story and is related to the other ones, Gary tries to weave storytelling and food into his sales pitch. They do not care for it. They reject his little candy kingdom and storm off, leaving Marshall embarrassed as in his attempts to help Gary out, it kind of all blew up in their face. Only for Gary to be unperturbed by it, as he recognized that it was probably for the best, that he would have wasted God knows how much time seeking perfection without ever actually just pulling the trigger on his dreams. He tried it, and honestly, it probably was not going to work out anyway. At least with them. So now, Gary has the opportunity to not be trapped by his same old plan for life. He can start making new ones, or maybe even, possibly, living in the present, something that Marshall excels at. The way I'm curious to see how Marshall got the Lemongrab's number. Was that just something that he had on him, or did he start talking to his mom again to get their number, and decide to use it to reach out based on nothing but spending a day with a guy he just met? The man is already in love, and I do wonder how much we're gonna keep exploring this world, as this is very much fan service for me. I enjoy it, I fucking love it, but that is very much a me thing. I'm curious to see if this is gonna wrap into like the bigger narrative, that all these characters can create their own lives. That they don't need to be the magical wonderland that Fionna kind of craves and Prismo originally created, but instead they've been able to like kind of move on, they've been able to adapt. They're able to find and enjoy life all on their own, and that is something that Fiona's got to deal with when she finally gets back and has trying to offer them a choice of like, oh, we can do the magic, but they're like, yeah, but we're kind of chill right now. Like, I'm curious to see if that's gonna play out, or is this just for funsies? As I do think that Fionna might have to recognize that adventuring won't fill the void in her life. It's just all very curious. Though with the Scarab hot on their tail, it's still left to be seen if they can actually make it that far. And yeah, the Scarab, great. Just the right amount of menace and professionalism for a villain fighting a more wackier set of heroes. His attempt to classify Fionna and Cake as a mistake to be corrected rather than embraced is also going to be very interesting to see play out, especially as it plays into Fiona's current low mood. I very much loved these two episodes. They were a delight watching on the plane that I was on, where I wrote the script for these episodes, and am currently recording in an Airbnb on a mic that is older. So if you're wondering why I sound different, there's your answer. But overall, these were a great couple episodes with nightmare fuel that I love, with plenty of sweet moments along the way to make it worth the while. That fucking Blender song, though, was terrifying. Also, I have no idea if he's alive or not, because those might have been sharp or they might have been dull, and only this show gets to decide. Alright, that's gonna be it for me, guys. But let me know what you all think of Fionna and Cake so far. How will Simon's mental health crisis be fixed before his body breaks? Let me know. Comment down below. But also remember to like, share, and subscribe to hear me talk about Adventure Time every week. Or at least until it's not topical, or Hell of a Boss comes out. But I promise you my channel is fun outside those two things. Because, you know, me. And shipping. Alright though, peace out, guys.